In this video, I'll show you 5 apps that have completely changed my life since high school and have allowed me to study full-time in medical school, run a YouTube channel, have a relationship, and play violin, among many other things. And the best part about it is that all of these apps except one are completely free, and you probably already use them, but with small changes to the settings, you can completely change your experience with these apps and make you so much more productive. If you're anything like me, you probably started out not using many apps at all, and then you discovered something here and there, and then all of a sudden you were using an app to decide how long you could pee for. While I am all for the extravagant to-do list on Notion and time tracking apps like Rise, I find that the apps that I come back to time and time again are the ones that are somewhere in the middle, functional but effective. The first app, but technically set of apps that I'll talk about is the Google Suite. And what I found is that there are a series of optimizations that I have found that can completely change how productive you can be with these apps. I'm sure that all of you use the Google apps to varying degrees, but I personally use all of them because I find that they work extremely well together. Just switching from Microsoft Office to Google Docs, Slides, and Sheets alone made me insanely more productive. The fact that everything is stored on the cloud in itself is a huge benefit for me because it means that I can leave a lot of the anxiety around what happens if I lose my computer or if my hard disk gets destroyed, to knowing that it's all safe and stored in the cloud somewhere. The first optimization has helped me enormously, and it's to one of the issues that I found in Google Drive. This issue was that it is extremely hard to find folders in Google Drive, especially if you get stuff shared to you regularly. The little trick that you can do here is if you find a folder that you use very often, especially if it's a shared one, you can right click on it and make it a starred folder, and then it will appear in the starred tab on the side of your Google Drive. I will admit that this is a very small thing, but it makes my life so much easier every time I need to find that folder, and I find that it makes my experience with Google Drive so much more pleasant. The second optimization is much bigger, and it also allows you to do so much more with the Google apps in general, and it really helps me to reduce distractions when I'm studying or working on the YouTube channel, and it's to create Chrome profiles. There are some extra sneaky tips that I have on how you can really optimize these, but you can essentially set up a Chrome profile every time you have a new Google account by clicking on that profile image on the top right-hand corner of your Chrome and then clicking add and signing in with your new Google account. Chrome profiles essentially allows you to have different profiles for each aspect of your life with different browsing history, extensions, bookmarks, and search recommendations. Once you've created your profile, my first tip is to rename them with a number at the start in order of which ones that you will use the most. I personally have Chrome profiles set up for my personal stuff, my university stuff, YouTube, and then my committee work in the medical students committee. Once I set these up, I set individual bookmarks and extensions for each of these, depending on what extensions that I would actually need to use on each of these profiles. For example, you don't want to have Netflix Party or Honey on your school or university account because that might make you get distracted. The really powerful thing about Chrome profiles that I find is the search recommendations and the clearing of browser history, because it means that if I ever want to search something up on YouTube, say when I'm studying, it means that YouTube will only have recommendations that are relevant to my university stuff because I'm always only searching up medical school content on that YouTube account. The other quick trick I have is to use Control-Shift-M or Command-Shift-M to switch between your Chrome profiles, which allows you to create a ritual when you start studying and also to switch between your Chrome profiles really quickly. Using profiles leads me on to the third optimization, which has been absolutely amazing in terms of digital organization. This optimization completely starts with that issue of having an enormous download folder filled with files that you have no idea where you got them or where they're supposed to go. The solution I found to this is that when you're using Chrome profiles, you can actually set each of your Chrome profiles to download into a separate folder within your downloads. As a result, in your File Explorer or Finder, you can create folders for each of your separate Chrome profiles, and then in settings, you can go to downloads and set the downloads folder to be each of those folders. As a result, this means whenever you're on a specific Chrome profile, if you download something, it will go automatically into that specific folder for that specific Chrome profile instead of just one giant downloads folder with with everything in it. These small changes have completely changed how I use the Google apps, but this would have all meant nothing if it wasn't for the next app, my to-do list app. Everyone knows that the to-do list is the cornerstone of productivity, and without one, you probably have no idea what to do. You'd always be forgetting deadlines, and you just wouldn't be very organized. If you're anything like me, I had been looking for a to-do list app for absolutely ages, but nothing was really perfect. I found that pen and paper was good, but it wasn't that reliable, especially over time, because some tasks would get lost in the weeks before's to-do list. And then other to-do list apps like Notion were a little bit too complicated and not that good cross-platform. The to-do list app I have settled on is called Todoist, and I find that it has a perfect set of features for what I personally need. The thing that I find separates Todoist from all the other apps that I use is that it is extremely easy to add tasks, because all you have to do is press Q on your keyboard and then you just type in the task. And instead of having to click a drop-down menu to say the due date, you can just type in the date that you want. And Todoist is really smart, and it will detect that and then set that automatically as the due date. I find that this feature completely sets Todoist far apart from all of the other to-do list apps that I have ever used, because I think the most important part of a to-do list app is to be able to add everything into it whenever you need and whenever you think of it. As a result, I find that it's super effective at clearing my mental clutter, and it also has a projects feature which allows me to create projects for each of those separate areas of my life that I've been discussing in these videos. In particular, a little tip that I have here is that I've created a project called Someday Maybe, which is essentially where I put all of those tasks that I want to do someday, but I don't really need to do now because there's no urgent time constraints on it. I find that this is really helpful because it means that I don't lose track of those things that I want to do one day, like redesigning my website or buying a new camera, but I don't need to do super urgently. In addition, if I'm procrastinating, Todoist has this nice subtasks feature, which I use to step out each of the individual parts of a task that I need to do so that I can just focus on completing one little bit at a time. Todoist is probably the best to-do list app that I have used so far, and it's the only one that I've actually managed to stick to using for over a year now. The third app is actually probably the opposite of a productivity app, but the way that I use it is what makes it special, and it's Tap Titans 2. Tap Titans 2 is essentially a idle clicking game that's a lot like Cookie Clicker, where you just tap the screen to do damage to titans and you kill them and you earn gold and you can level up, and basically you just keep playing and then you can earn gold idly while just waiting. Playing Tap Titans 2 has actually allowed me to significantly increase my motivation and help me to study in times when I probably wouldn't have done any study at all. The way I use it is I only ever play Tap Titans if I've finished studying for over 30 minutes or more. What this means is I essentially use Tap Titans as a reward and also incentive to start studying in the first place, because there are daily rewards and login bonuses that I get for playing Tap Titans every day. So it makes me want to study every day so that I can play the game to collect my rewards. Even if I'm not in the mood to study, sometimes just thinking about wanting to collect my Tap Titan rewards can allow me to study for just 30 minutes even when I don't feel like doing it. You can pretty much use any mobile game that you're willing to lock off completely in the times that you're not studying. The reason I like Tap Titans is because it also has a multiplayer clan feature, so you don't want to let down your clan, your fellow clan members down, and you also want to just come back for the daily rewards and the features that it has there. Honestly, using games in this way has been a completely life-changing way that I have been able to encourage myself to study. The next app is one that has probably changed my life the most in terms of productivity, happiness, and just emotional regulation and well-being in general, and it's Headspace. If you don't know what it is, Headspace is a meditation app, but this section of the video isn't just to tell you to meditate. I found that there are a few other ways that I can use Headspace that really help me as well. In the first place, meditation has genuinely improved my focus, overall perspective of life, and general happiness insanely compared to anything else that I have done. It's amazing. You should seriously try it if you haven't already. And if some guy on the internet telling you that isn't enough, you could also believe the mountains and mountains of research that has been done on meditation and its benefits. But other than that, I have personally been using Headspace for approximately a year or more, and I essentially do a 20-minute meditation each day in the morning. and then I'll also use it a few other times during the day. There's a lot of meditation apps out there, but I find that Headspace is really good because there's a ton of stuff that you can cover on very relatable topics such as managing stress, having better focus, dealing with anger, and also because there's a daily meditation, which is really easy to do if I'm in a rush or I don't know what to pick. In general, having a paid meditation app allows me to reduce the resistance I have to starting meditation and has allowed me to make it into a habit that I do almost every day. Apart from the 20-minute meditation I do in the morning though, I also do meditations sometimes in my Pomodoro breaks. What I find is that if I've worked for 45 minutes and I have a 15-minute break, sometimes I'll just do a 10 or 15-minute meditation in this break, and I find that meditation helps me completely rejuvenate my mind and allows me to maintain focus and study for much longer than I would usually. This on its own helps enormously, but I also use Headspace in times where I can't fall asleep. Headspace has a really good sleeping collection, and I find if I'm ever struggling to fall asleep, I'll just play a sleeping meditation and I'll fall asleep within like 15 minutes, no problem. Sleep is so important, and I find that the fact that I'm able to just do a meditation and fall asleep really easily is an amazing benefit. The final app is one, again, that I think can be optimized for most people, and it's the default screen time app in your phone settings. I have an iPhone, so the default screen time app leaves a lot to be desired because often the categories are wrong. It doesn't really measure the right screen time. Sometimes if I'm on the phone, it'll measure that as screen time, even though I'm not really using my phone, I'm just talking on it. And so overall, it's not that good. However, I think one feature is insanely good in the screen time app, and it's setting a passcode on screen time limits. On your phone, you can set a time limit for how long you want to use certain apps. And for me, these are the social media apps like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And I don't want to use these for more than 30 minutes to 1 hour a day, because beyond that amount of time is probably time that you could spend doing more productive forms of relaxation. What I do sometimes is that I will set that time limit and I will set a passcode on this, and then I will pass it off to someone I trust, like my parents or my girlfriend, and tell them to keep the password and not give it to me under any circumstances. The reason this is insanely important is because the problem with distractions is not that people who are more focused get distracted less, it's that they have less things in their environment distracting them in the first place. As a result, if you have strict time limits set on your phone and you know you can't use Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever for more than 30 minutes a day, you know that you can't use those things, and then you're less likely to be distracted by them. If you heard me talk about giving your password to someone else and you start to feel a strong aversion to it, as if, oh, but I want to use those apps, or, oh, it's not that bad, you should probably take that as a sign that you should do it. One thing that I've realized is that you often realize how much you rely and use something when you're being forced to give it up. And I found that when I first switched to using this sort of screen time method and completely reducing my screen time, I found that it was really hard for me to do at first, but over time I got really used to it, and now I only have around 1 hour and 30 minutes of screen time a day. And if you like the sound of the Pomodoro technique that I talked about before, you should definitely check out this video where I talked about 3 study tips from Ali Abdaal that I improved.